Hello and welcome to As Built, the podcast from Graphic Machine about architecture firms, buildings, and how both get built. I'm your co-host, Patience Jones. With me, as ever, is...
Brian Jones.
And I said as ever, and I don't care anymore.
So what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about being found by AI, which sounds really creepy and ominous.
It's not Skynet coming to...
No, it's coming to your house. It's going to wake you up. Not today, at least. Not today.
Yeah.
But it is AI search, or what they're calling answer engine optimization, or AEO, is if you think you've never used it, you have. Because if you are searching for something in Google, and Google gives you back results, and the first result it gives you is a summary of the thing, that is Google's answer engine. That's powered by Gemini. It's the same function as if you were to open up ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity and search for something. The mechanics of how those answers come to be in each engine is long and complicated. That's a different episode. But that is what AI search is. It's asking your artificial intelligence buddy for information about something, or where's the nearest restaurant, or what should I wear today? Anything.
Yep.
Answer engine optimization. So what does this mean for architects?
So many things. I mean, probably the biggest thing that it would mean is that if you don't have any content on your website presently, this is going to be problematic.
Well, let's start with, why should architects even care
Yeah.
if they're being found in AI search?
I would
Who's
say,
searching for them?
like everyone. Like, more than some statistics say that it is much as, as little as 56% of the population is using, answer engines to find results. And I'm guessing it's actually much higher and probably closer to like 80% based upon just everything that I've seen. But this is the way that people are looking for information now. They're using it on their desktops. They're using it on their mobile phones. This is a primary means by which things are being found. So like, as maybe 10 years ago, Google was the primary means by which things are being found. That has shifted now. Now it's answer engines.
And it's so important that Google has actually added in its analytics platform a way to directly see what traffic to your website came from different search engines. You used to just include that in your direct traffic. But now, because it's such a big percentage, you can see how much of my website traffic came from people in Claude, how much of it came from people in chat. It is everybody from project owners to people thinking about partnering with you on a project, to financial institutions considering whether to finance a project that you're the architect on, to people looking for jobs, to media outlets looking for projects to cover and experts to talk to.
So everyone.
Yep. And it's because it's easy.
Yeah.
When Google search first came out, it was like, how could this possibly get easier? Like, you ask for something and Google decides what the best answers are and it gives you 10 and you choose. Well, with AI, you no longer have to choose. It tells you, hey, this is what we think you need to know.
Yeah.
And again, where it gets that information from, different episode. But people look at traditional search now more as, that's a lot of work. I have to go through all these links. I have to click on other sites. I just want the answer.
Well, and the answer is a lot more complete than it once was. So, whereas before you were restricted to a handful of characters and a very brief description of what you might see if you click through, the description is actually fairly robust per link and per information, and it can give you context in a way that search just couldn't years ago.
So the bottom line reason that this matters is because if you or your site are invisible to search engines, AI search engines, you won't ever come up in an answer. So for all of the people who have decided that this is how they're going to search for things, you don't exist. You will never exist. You're not going to get put on an RFP list. You're not going to get applicants. You're not going to be contacted by press to talk about something, because as far as AI is concerned, there is no you.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to think of this now as table stakes, not as something that might be aspirational down the road.
Yeah.
This is as important as having electricity for your space to run the computers that you draw, the buildings that you design. It is the most likely way that people have their first interaction with you, and ignoring it is really impossible at this point.
I mean, it's technically possible. You can ignore it, but it will ignore you.
Yeah.
And you will eventually be asking yourself, how come we didn't hear about any of these projects? How come nobody's contacting us? I was just talking to so and so at a luncheon and they didn't even know that we were still in operations. That's how important this tool is becoming.
So that kind of covers the, why does it matter now? But let's dive into the answers a little bit more and what people are searching, because it isn't just like, necessarily show me 10 architecture firms that are in the nearby area. It's really a lot more people writing answers that they're seeking answers to problems that they have.
People who are more familiar with AI will write better prompts or queries. People that are, and you can sort of see this breakdown generationally. Gen Z is very good at writing prompts. Boomers, not so much, tends to be more of a blunt instrument. That might be, a boomer query might be along the lines of, what are the 10 best architecture firms? A more specific, tailored query would say something like, I am looking to build a middle school at such and such address for this number of children. We have public funding, we have private funding, we have to meet LEED standards, we have to be accessible, we have a limited budget. What architecture firms should I look at?
And it might take it a step further, because that's a query that is findable based upon what you might naturally have on your website. It might go a step further. It says, show me a multifamily housing firm that has worked on modular homes and is, working in my geographical area.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more, sort of in a problem solution state. Mm-hmm. It can go even further and more detailed. So this is kind of illustrating the range, the beginning range, frankly, of where you need content to support being found under those pieces of information.
And it can get more sort of emotional in ways that traditional search doesn't tend to. So the person asking the question might say something like, on our last project, we worked with a firm that I felt really didn't pay attention to our needs. I need a firm that's going to be very responsive and that's going to listen to me and not just talk over me. Or last time we worked with firm X, I liked their work, but I didn't like working with them. Give me 3 options that are equivalent to firm X that I can go look at. People are being almost more vulnerable with the search engines in forming their queries and saying things and searching for things that it would never occur to them to search for in traditional search engines.
And I think you're stumbling onto a really great point, which is that the emotional thing, what the answer engines will really do is gather from the entirety of the web. So Reddit, social media, your website, any news articles, any reviews that have ever been left. And it's going to combine all of that information together when it generates your answer. It's not just going to your website and pulling out the prepackaged answer that you hope it gives for you. It's really thinking about it and presenting you with a holistic view with that answer.
Well, and even when it goes to your website, depending on what it finds and how it's structured, it may discount what it finds on your website. Or it may say, the firm says that they are such and such, but third-party information confirms that they don't do that, or there's no proof that they do that. It's like, imagine if you had like a consigliere for yourself, or a Michael Clayton, and you say, okay, go out and get me all this information, and it comes back and it says, look, this part doesn't look so good, or it seems like they're lacking on this front. Here's where it seems like they're really good. So it really is everything. And it does look at traditional SEO. So the most common question is usually like, well, why are we bothering with SEO then? Well, because ironically, AI is looking at SEO. What is the firm rank for? How visible are they in traditional search? What is their traffic like? Because that means, oh, if they rank really high for certain keywords, then they probably know about those things. So we can probably safely assume that they're at least a contender for responses relating to those queries.
Yep. And that's doubly true for Gemini because they have native access to all of that information.
So the other thing that Gemini has access to, and I will say at least Gemini, maybe others, but definitely Gemini, if you use Gmail, they also have access to your email. So we actually have a deck about this. If you're interested, drop us a line and we'll send it to you. But it's the process by which the LLMs make decisions because they're evaluating information and reviewing it, deciding what to include and what's garbage, all in a manner of like nanoseconds. So one of the things that they look at is they comb your email and they see, is there anybody in your email that is associated with one of the companies that they're considering giving as a result? If there is, then they assume that that is a source that you trust. So they are more likely to include that company in an answer. Now, that doesn't mean that you can have, a terrible website or no content and no search presence, but as long as you've emailed the person once, you're going to get included. It just is one more layer of things that everybody's looking at. And don't spam. That is not the answer. Do not spam to get included in the AI search results.
Well, I mean, it all boils down to intent signals. And, this is one of thousands of them that can exist in your favor. And they are some of them are under your control, others are outside your control. But having an awareness of where things stack up for you and how you make use of them and where you may need to build out additional efforts across the web are really important to having a really healthy AI perspective on your firm.
And one of the things that can be really frustrating is knowing what sources to use to tell you how is AI doing this. To some degree, you can do manual testing using different LLMs. However, unless you are using a brand new clean installation every single time you query, that AI has learned your behavior. It knows what it thinks you want, and the answers that you get will be different than the answers that somebody else might get. It is a way, but it's not a 100% reliable way to see what's happening. And we investigated, I don't know how many systems, and finally found one that we've tested that is reliable and gives good answers and not only tells you this is how many times AI talks about you, but it tells you what prompts generated a response where you were the answer. So if you're an architecture firm and you show up in an answer for what was the first building Le Corbusier did, that's not probably super helpful for bringing in new work. You may have that on your website somewhere, and that's what it picked up on.
Sure.
So that citation or that ranking doesn't matter as much. So it's important to know how people are getting to you through AI as well.
So what do you think the big takeaways are here? As this will be an introductory episode to AI and we'll have others in the future that cover different aspects of it. But what for you are the big takeaways?
I think don't hide from it and don't brush it off. It doesn't really matter whether you like it. It's happening. And the only way to make sure that you're included in these results is to do the things you need to do and put the signals on your website and all of your other platforms, make sure everything's all tied together to make sure that AI is finding you. And AI, because of how people search in AI, they may never click through from that answer to your website. They might, or they might call you, or they might go to LinkedIn and send you, a LinkedIn inquiry. So what we're seeing across the board and what Google is seeing across the board, and they're sort of panicking a little bit, is drops in visits to websites. because people no longer have to go to that website to get the answer that they need. So if you're seeing your web traffic fall, that's not by itself an indicator that something is wrong. It's important to look at all the other things. Are you continuing to get queries? Are people still contacting you? Are RFPs still coming in? And to start to track all of those sources and see how everything's working together. So unfortunately, the answer is this is not like a tack on thing. This is a brand new thing that is super important. And it's almost like when the web came out.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably the magnitude of thing is, if your firm doesn't have a website, that's how people are looking for things. Well, now, if your firm isn't an AI, that's how people are looking for things.
I think the only thing I would piggyback on that is it's a marathon, not a sprint. And it's important to put together an action plan that is sustainable and is ongoing in perpetuity, because that's has always been the answer, but it continues to be the answer, which is your marketing is not a magic button that you push once one day and you generate a bunch of content and then you're done for 6 years. No, it is something that you refine and revise over time, nearly all the time, towards a good outcome.
Yeah, there is no magic button for AEO or AI optimization. And if you're using any platform that tells you that there is, that stop using that platform, because this is artificial intelligence. It is intelligent enough that we want to use it to ask questions of. So what also is true is that it is intelligent enough to see through garbage overlays and code stuffing and bad content that was AI generated and is duplicative of other things on the web. This is nuanced and it's complicated and it has to be comprehensive. So yeah, to your point, this isn't going to be done by tomorrow.
No.
And the plan is important because everything that you do will build on each other. And it is important to get it done, at least have a foundation sooner rather than later, and then to continue optimizing.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.